Hi, I'm Tony Lombardi with Russell Street Report, and I'm here with Dev Panchwagh, also of RSR. And Dev, the Ravens have some decisions to make coming up beginning March 17th at 4 p.m. when the new league year starts. Among them are some free agents that may or may not stay with the team. So let's go over a few of those guys beginning now. And the first one on the board is Chris Board, coincidentally. So let's talk about Chris, how he's done for the Ravens so far in his short career, and what you see the future with the Ravens or some other team for Chris Board.
Yeah, let's do it. Chris Board's a guy I liked a lot the year prior. I just thought he was going to be the starting inside linebacker. They had an opening. It didn't quite work out. I think part of it was he was still getting acclimated to the position. I think he missed some time with the concussion issue. And then they ended up signing Josh Bynes, signed LJ Fort, and then it didn't work out for him in 2019. But now, last year, he was really good, I thought. And the opportunities he had, they used him as a specialist. I thought very astutely, kind of coverage situations specifically. He covered tight ends at times. He covered running backs at times out of the backfield. He gave us a good athleticism, awareness, and space that they quite didn't have with Malik Harrison, one of their other rookie linebackers. So it was interesting when LJ Fort went down for a couple of games, they turned to Chris Board, and all of a sudden Board became the guy that he was supposed to be the year before. And I thought he played really well. So to me, he's, I think, a valuable cog in this defense, not as a starter that you play every down, but I just think he's a perfect fit for Wink's defense. And he also got in on some blitzes as well, some strategic pass rushes. So I kind of like him and his fit in this defense a lot.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be knocking down the door to sign him, and I think he stays. You listen to the coaching staff, the coaches really speak highly of him, and I think that versatility plays into his role with the Ravens, in Wink Martindale's defense. And one play stands out for me, Dev. Last year they were playing in Cincinnati, and they got caught in a mix-up where Board was out to the far right of the defense, one-on-one with Gio Bernard. And he covered him, all those skills when he played safety at North Dakota State really helped him cover. And it was textbook coverage. I mean, he turned, looked for the ball, and he used the boundary as a added defender and kind of forced him out of bounds, and the ball ended up going out of bounds. So, that was indicative of the kind of cover skills that he's got.
That's a great call out. I remember you also pointing that play out, and he used, like you said, textbook technique, pinned Bernard to the sideline all the way. And that's a great point about his former, like, playing safety before. You see that on the field. He's always had the raw physical athleticism. So he's got a lot of physical ability. And now you see the technique, you see the positioning, understanding where to drop, where the field is. So he's getting the kind of the instincts down as well, and the natural feel for it out there. And really smart guy, I think, and they fully trust him, and that's a big deal in this scheme, in this complex scheme.
Yeah, I don't think you could ask much more from a reserve linebacker who also happens to be a good special teams contributor as well.
Absolutely.
So we're both on board with keeping Chris Board. All right, next up on the list is Tyus Bowser. Kind of a late bloomer, Dev. He's always shown that athleticism, but for me, it seems like the complexity of Wink's defense slowed him down a little because he had to think a little bit too much. But last year, he started showing signs of really embracing that defense and playing and letting his athleticism, his innate skills really show.
Yeah, it's like slowly but surely with him. Just each year, he's kind of been stacking a little bit more. And he's a typical Ravens late bloomer. You look at their history. Paul Kruger is one example that comes off the top of my head, right? But, he figured it out. And I think, again, in the scheme, he's such a good fit as a Sam backer. And one of the things I noted is that he had 14 quarterback hits on the surface of it in 16 games. That doesn't seem like a whole lot. But if you parse that down and you think about the amount of snaps he played, that's really, really impressive, because he just hasn't finished the play. Sometimes he's wrapped guys up, but he's gotten involved as a pass rusher, but he brings a lot more to the table. We saw him be able to drop into zone coverage on those zone blitzes and pick the ball off. He's done that. So he does a lot in terms of all three phases: run game, pass rush, and coverage scheme. And then what I would say is, if you bump his snaps up, he's got tremendous per snap impact. It's something I usually evaluate when I just look at guys like him who are only playing like 20, 30 snaps or so. But you bump that up as a starter, I think he's got potential to be even better.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I just think his versatility, he's coming on. And I think because this market is kind of a buyer's market, Deb, because there's not a lot of salary cap space available. A lot of teams are still over the cap. They got to get down. I think somebody that you look at Bowser as a guy who's a good Raven, and teams might be a little bashful about signing him to a big deal because they're not sure how it might translate to another team.
It's absolutely a fair assessment because, again, he didn't have a ton of sacks. If you just look at that part, right? In terms of pass rusher, he on the surface doesn't look like a guy that could take that next step. So how much money, he's not Zadarius Smith for that, from that standpoint, right? Like how much money can you quantify? I don't know. There's only a certain amount of teams that could probably even use him the right way, which is, I think, like Miami is one example. The Jets have a familiarity with him. He could fit in the right scheme, but he really, and I think he's a smart guy, he really would do best here because they know how to use him the best to get the most out of him.
I agree. This is Tony Lombardi, Dev Panchwagh, Rush Street Report with your free agent recap.